G'day, Markie here. Now I'm doing that thing again where I point my camera at the computer screen, mainly because I'm all grizzled and I don't want to point the camera at me, and I don't have the access to the mobile studio right now. I want to give you something to look at. This is more of a podcast, really. So if looking at the screen and the jazzy effect that's sometimes produced by pointing the camera at the screen makes you feel peculiar, don't look at the screen because it's not essential. It's just for background. That's a good channel. Storied. If you're into cryptozoology and stuff like that, check them out because they're good. I'm just going to flick through. I've just put up Chupacabra on my YouTube. Just gonna flick through what comes up because I'm going to talk about Chupacabra, but not just about Chupacabra. In fact, something much more broad, really, into which the subject of Chupacabra fits. Some great images come up. First of all, this is a YouTube channel, not a TV program. Okay, so it's going to be in my own unique style. It's going to be quite chatty. I talk in the way that I'm talking to friends because I do have friends that follow the channel. So it's not going to be like a slick presentation where that you're going to get on a television or a documentary. So don't leave me snarky comments saying, "Oh, this guy never gets to the point." Okay, because it's YouTube, it's not television, it's social media. It's not just about the topic, it's about the whole it's a social media thing. And also my style is informed by the fact that I'm neurodivergent and I like to do things off the cuff rather than planned. I can do things planned and make them slick, but if I do that, I'd never get anything done. So this is a homely channel, conversational style, and there will be preambles. We're not going to hurry to get to the topic because we're like friends chatting around the fire. Okay, so the main preamble that I'm going to give is that this is actually a channel channel with a purpose, and that is to help people with a horrible condition called retroactive jealousy, which is a mental health condition, an OCD condition. I'm a psychotherapist and I specialize in treating it, and we give a lot of free help out to people who think they may have the condition and want to look at how they can start to get well again. And we've got over nearly 200 videos on here about recovery from retroactive jealousy, but we do other stuff as well, because with YouTube you can't just well, first of all, if we just did stuff on retroactive jealousy and we tried to do something every week, I try to put out a video every day if I can, we'd be scraping the barrel looking for things to say about retroactive jealousy. And so when I talk about something, I want to talk about something that where I've got something to say. It might be something very serious, it might be something very silly, but I've got something that I want to say about a topic. I don't want to just rehash something or scrape the barrel. So we do videos about all sorts of stuff, because with the YouTube channels you can't just put a video out once in blue moon. You don't get rewarded for that. You get lost, your channel gets hidden. So our purpose of our channel is to help people with retroactive jealousy. We also talk about a lot of other serious things that are to do with mental health. I work in a lot of psychosexual areas, so I cover all the dark subjects. I go to all the places where other people fear to tread, and talk about things like recovery from sexual abuse, or what to do if you have an attraction to children, all kinds of things, all about helping people, all about reducing the incidences of abuse and harm, and we also talk about kind of silly stuff. This one comes more into the line of the silly stuff, but not completely. Okay, not completely. And I don't want to be disrespectful to people that follow this particular theme or field, or even people that make their living researching it and writing books and stuff like that. Some of whom I've met and are very fine people. So cryptozoology. I'm not sure the dictionary definition of cryptozoology is. Crypto means kind of hidden, doesn't it? Cryptic. So cryptozoology, and zoology obviously to do with animals, or animals. That's pretty good. Includes birds, obviously. So it's the study of mysterious creatures that haven't yet been formally recognized by orthodox zoology. I suppose that's a good way of putting it. People say it's a pseudoscience, but pseudoscience is a nasty word. It's it's a stick that's used to beat lots and lots of people. Some of the greatest thinkers and scientists and psychologists and everythingists in the world basically anyone who's come up with anything new and radical has been labelled as, you know, a pseudoscientist until their theories are proved and generally accepted, and then they're heroes of the establishment that actually kind of, you know, often were highly abusive towards them, which is crazy. We shouldn't be frightened of people's views. You know, people come up with an idea, even if we don't agree with it, even if we think it's crazy, you know, don't give that person a hard time. You know, just, you know, disagree respectfully, or ideally keep an open mind, because they might be right. So whenever I talk about stuff like this, I never come at it from a specific kind of viewpoint. I come from a very loose, you know, open mind, theoretical perspective that, you know, could be. I like to look at as many different possible explanations for something that I can think of, and I think that's the way to approach some of these kind of subjects. Some of these, you know, things like occult, paranormal, cryptozoology, UFOs or UAPs. I'm interested in all these. So I like mysteries, I guess, which kind of fits with my profession as a psychotherapist. You're solving mysteries. People think it's all about, you know, working out what happened to people in the past. Generally speaking, it's not. It's about formulating what's actually going on in the present. But sometimes it's useful to go into the past to look at that, to look at what might have influenced things. But working as a psychotherapist is also about solving mysteries, and getting people to a place where they're integrated, where everything's cohesive and working together, I guess. But anyway, that's a tangent. So let's keep flicking through these pictures as we talk. I'm forgetting to do that. So chupacabra. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I was doing that in a bit of a hammy way then, wasn't I? The goat sucker. So it's a creature, a cryptid. Lots and lots of reports and sightings of this creature that sometimes it's described as having spines on its back. Sometimes it's described as having wings. There's the one with a spiny back, look, spiny Norman. Don't confuse them with hedgehogs. They also have spines on their backs. Some people think it's just scabby dogs that have got mange, and they've been around. I don't know how far they go back. They're probably, if you look, there's probably stuff that goes back to the year dot, but they became kind of more talked about in the 1990s. And they were on Puerto Rico? Have I even said that right? And then I think they started to be found in the south of mainland America, I believe. Yeah, there's another. Oh, I was going to show you a good picture then, and then it changed. So lots of people think that they're coyotes with mange, being mistaken. So yeah, look, that's a more kind of out there depiction of one, isn't it? So if you want to find out more about the subject itself, you wouldn't do far wrong going to this channel and this video. But I want to talk more broadly about cryptids, and more about just a general theory that just occurred to me the other day as I was musing, because I spend a lot of time musing. And this relates to more than chupacabra. This potentially relates to a lot of things. You hear all this stuff about the CIA and the Pentagon trying to come up with different kinds of intelligence gathering techniques, or different kinds of weapons, or things they can weaponize, or things that will give them an edge. And you know, I don't know if you ever saw that film, The Men That Stare at Goats, and there's what's that project called, where they gave a lot of people LSD without telling them, and tried to mess with people's heads. I know what it is, but it's gone out of my head. Put it in the comments if you. It'll probably come to me before the end of the video. And distant viewing and things like that. So we know. Well, we don't know how much is fact and how much is fiction, but I think it's safe to say that the American intelligence and military sector, let's not kind of just blame the CIA. We don't know where it begins and where it ends. Have been experimenting with all kinds of things, even quite wacky things, to see if it gives them an edge. Oh, that's a good one. So one thing that occurred to me is, why haven't they tried to create monsters? Right. This is sort of where my mind goes. This is how I think. Why haven't they tried to create monsters? Okay, because there's such a thing as PsyOps. Frightening. Trying to affect the psychology of the enemy, scaring the willies out of the enemy. That's a nice one. I like him. Oh, it's a video. Oh, that's great. That's nicely done, isn't it? It's a bit like a kangaroo. Oh yeah. What video is this? Most amazing elites. I don't know if that's kosher or not, but I do like the visuals. I might save that and watch that. Because it could be, it's unethical, isn't it? But it could be easily done, couldn't it? Because all you'd have to do is, I say all you'd have to do. It would take far greater minds than mine. But you could, just by breeding certain animals, you could create animals that look quite monstrous and scary, or animals that behave in a monstrous and scary way, and then you could release them behind enemy lines, or release them where you want to psych somebody out, and suddenly somebody thinks that there's a monster living in the woods behind their house, and tapping on their windows at night, and they might not be wrong. So these things could be bred, and maybe it would take kind of genetic engineering and all that kind of complex stuff, or maybe you could just breed weird looking dogs with other weird looking dogs. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it just occurred to me, and obviously, so I'm interested in FORTEANA, any kind of mystery really, so and there are an awful lot of monster sightings, whether we like it or not, whether we believe in these monsters. So it's not just Chupacabra, it's Dogman and Bigfoot, and the Jersey Devil, and there's hundreds of other things. Now, one thing that goes against my theory, that's quite a cute one, is you just love YouTube. One thing that goes against my theory is a lot of these things have been around a long time, or they've been seen by people over a long time, but there are some that seem to be on the increase. Like, for example, the Chupacabra, I think, was like the 80s or 90s, became much more widely talked about, and Dogman became more, although you can trace stuff that relates to that kind of thing way back, and there are, if you go online, you'll find these things, but there certainly was an increase in reportage of this sort of stuff in the 80s and 90s. So what I'm saying is, I don't necessarily, Owlman, that's interesting. I used to watch my videos on the Owlman, because I actually lived right opposite the church where the Owlman was allegedly seen. I never saw the Owlman, but it was very spooky booky, and I've got some interesting tales to tell of my times living there. So it would surprise me if the intelligence and military organizations that were staring at goats and doing all this unethical and weird stuff, and getting psychics in and talking to mediums and looking at remote viewing, if they didn't breed monsters, because you could see the potential for releasing a monster, if you wanted to influence people psychologically, could be very, very useful. Now, are some of the sightings like Chupacabra, although some of these things go way back, the increase in reports and sightings, could that be because some of their experiments have escaped, or maybe they've released some of their experiments into the wilder places just to monitor how people respond and react to them, whether they approach people, whether people report experiences of them, whether any photographs emerge, what psychological effect it has on people. That's a good one. I would be surprised if they didn't do that or experiment with that. Now, if they did, we might never see the results of the experiments. They might have been, humanely destroyed, or they might be living in cages in some experimental center somewhere, hidden away from the view of the general public. But I would be surprised if knowing what human beings are like, particularly what the American military and intelligence establishment are like, I would be surprised if somebody hadn't tried to do it. Now, of course, people have tried to do this, haven't they? Because we've bred dogs for fierceness and things like that, haven't we? That's been done for a long time. Like certain dogs that are good guard dogs and stuff like that. But this is something slightly different. This is kind of breeding things that kind of look weird and scary, or make weird, scary noises, or skulk about in a spooky way. I'm not expressing this very well, am I? But don't you think somebody would have done it somewhere? And if they did, isn't there a good chance that some of these things are out there in the wild, feral, experimental creatures that maybe, not anything necessarily that high tech, just breeding, maybe even kind of like mutated creatures. Maybe if you get a bunch of, because there are natural mutations that occur in all animals. A lot of animals are born deformed. You get kind of you sometimes get cows and like they've got a hoof coming out of their head and things like that. So what if you get a bunch of big dogs that are malformed in whatever way, and just through natural birth defects, but that they've got kind of deformities that aren't going to be detrimental to their well-being, and you breed them with other creatures that have got these kind of things, or maybe you go for size, so you start breeding bigger and bigger, so you have this like huge dog with incredibly long legs, or something like that, and then you can release that in the area where you want to psych people out, and freak them out, scare the bejesus out of them. I think it would be a surprise if that hasn't been done. I really do. So maybe a lot of these weird sightings, even like Bigfoot, Bigfoot could be some kind of hybrid ape, or some kind of crossbred, or just like I say, bred for size or bred for abnormalities, and then you release a few of them into the national parks or the wild spaces just to monitor them and see what happens, because there are stories as well of these areas where people see these things that they're monitored, that people are told to stay away, or that kind of thing, monitored by people that would appear to be kind of intelligence agency type people. So what do you think? Sorry, I've made a bit of a meal of this, really. I've kind of, I suppose I've done too many videos. I'm reaching the end of my capacity for coherent videos. So without repeating myself any further, I'd be really interested to hear what you think. But I don't want you to think that I believe this shit. Okay, I don't even believe my own idea. I don't even believe my own theory. Okay, this is really tentative. Okay, this is an area for discussion. Is this something that other people have already thought of? It probably is. I'm unlikely to come up with some kind of original idea where people that make this kind of thing their job, people that specialize in this, writers and researchers in cryptozoology, have probably thought about all this stuff before me, but it's not something that I'm not seeing this on YouTube. So what do you think of this theory? And if you know of anybody that's talked about this, or material on it, like a video or a book or whatever, a resource that somebody's already produced that talks about this stuff, please let me know, because I'd be interested in following it up. But I would also be interested in your thoughts on it, or maybe you have a completely different idea about what Chupacabra and Dogman and Bigfoot are. I think personally, with these kind of reported phenomena, why do we always look for one explanation? I mean, when people experience what they think of as, just say Bigfoot, for example, they see something big and hairy in the woods, could be me. they, it could be a different explanation for a different, different sightings could be caused by different things. Some could be, just missed sightings. Some could be, creatures from another dimension bleeding through. Some could be, escaped gorillas. It could be, there could be 100 Bigfoot sightings and 100 different explanations. Like with the chupacabra, I'm sure a lot of what people have seen is the mangy dogs and the mangy coyotes. I don't doubt that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every chupacabra sighting is a mangy dog. And they're supposed to have big spines on their back, aren't they? So that's, that if something has big spines, that's pretty noticeable, really. So anyway, let me know what you think, but be polite. And because I don't mind people disagreeing with me. I like people disagreeing with me because it makes me think. But be polite, because we're supposed to have fun. This is a fun topic. I think it's a fun topic. I don't lose sleep over any of this spooky stuff. I just think it's great fun. So let's have a fun discussion. And thank you for watching this and supporting the people that we're trying to help and supporting our mission. And we'll see you in the next video, which could be about almost anything. Rangimarie.